Greetings, this is Congresswoman Jennifer McClellan. On June 24th, 2022, the Supreme Court of the United States issued its ruling in Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health Organization, ending the constitutional right to an abortion. This ruling was devastating and overturned nearly 50 years of judicial precedent set forth in Roe v. Wade. Dobbs was the first major Supreme Court decision in recent times where we witnessed a constitutional right blatantly stripped away from the American people. Since the ruling was issued, we have seen the increasingly devastating impacts it has had on Americans, doctors, and our healthcare system, as decisions and autonomy have been severely curtailed. Already, 20 states have eliminated or restricted access through abortion bans, forcing some people to travel hundreds of miles to other states to access reproductive health care. For those who do not have the financial or personal means to travel to other states, they are put at medical risk and forced to live through horrific situations. And the results can be devastating. One woman who tried accessing care at 3 emergency rooms in both Missouri and Kansas was told that though her fetus was unlikely to survive and she was at risk of life-endangering complications, doctors could not help her. Another woman in Florida almost died after doctors sent her home, despite the fact that she was experiencing life-threatening pregnancy complications when her water broke at least 6 weeks ahead of when the fetus could survive on its own. The Dobbs ruling has shown a bright light on the fact that abortion care is health care. When women face non-viable pregnancies, forcing them to carry their fetus for an unnecessary amount of time is dangerous and cruel. For some Americans who decide to get an abortion, it is a difficult, deeply personal choice made out of medical necessity to protect the life of the mother and limit the suffering of a fetus that has medical conditions incompatible with life. Take, for instance, Christy Brooks, who was in her 20th week of pregnancy and elated to meet her child in a few short months. Then she received life-changing news from her doctor. Her baby would suffer from a congenital diaphragmatic hernia, a hole in the diaphragm, that would cause her to suffocate upon birth. Christy and her husband had to make the difficult choice to terminate the pregnancy, but at that time, they thankfully had that option. In today's post-Dobbs world, those assurances are no longer promised to Americans, regardless of the medical complications they face or other extenuating circumstances surrounding their pregnancies. Abortion bans cause real harm to real people, and they especially harm those who are already marginalized at every turn by our systems and institutions. As is far too often the case, these bans and restrictions disproportionately impact low-income communities, communities of color, the LGBTQ+ community, immigrants, rural communities, people with disabilities, and other historically oppressed communities. They also have a severely detrimental impact on doctors, medical professionals, and our healthcare system. Doctors are faced with an impossible choice as they are forced to decide between providing critical and in many cases life-saving medical care or following extreme laws. Politicians and our government have no place in the decisions made between medical professionals and their patients. The impacts are dangerous and undermine the efficacy of our healthcare system. As we approach the 1-year anniversary of the Dobbs decision, it has become evident that Republicans and extreme conservative groups would never stop at overturning Roe. Many have called for an outright abortion ban, which would decimate reproductive freedom and the right to choose. My home state of Virginia remains a safe haven for abortion rights, due in large part to the Reproductive Health Protection Act, which I championed while in the Virginia State Senate. That bill made our Commonwealth the first state in the South to proactively expand abortion rights. While Virginians' right to choose is still preserved, too many Americans find their reproductive freedom severely limited or undermined entirely. That is why I am continuing my efforts in Congress as a member of the Pro-Choice Caucus and a proud original co-sponsor of the Women's Health Protection Act, which would codify the protections of Roe v. Wade into law and restores the national right to an abortion. I refuse to back down from the fight for reproductive freedom and stand ready to use every tool at my disposal to take immediate action on this issue. American lives depend on it. This week, I joined many of my pro-choice caucus colleagues, as well as colleagues from the broader Democratic caucus, and signing a discharge petition to demand a vote on the Women's Health Protection Act. Enough is enough. We must defend reproductive rights for every American.